The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera, and by Mosaic, your Lightroom photos automatically on every device and backed up, and by Shootproof, the easy way to proof and sell your photos online.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join hosts Trevor Curran and Joseph Christina as they chat about the art and business of photography.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 93. I'm Joseph Christina here with my co-host Trevor Curran. On last week's show, we talked about Apple's laptop updates, amazing sun photography from Alan Friedman, and we took a behind-the-scenes look at Digital Photography Cafe. If you haven't watched last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at our website, digitalphotographycafe.com, in iTunes, listen with the popular Stitcher, TuneIn, and now Xbox Music apps, or watch on HD through TiVo.
So, Joe, we are back. How you doing, man?
How are you doing?
I am doing well. Another week, another dollar.
That's fantastic. That is great.
Yeah, it's good that the dollars are coming in, right? It's better than the alternative, I guess.
Hopefully it starts turning around, right?
Yeah. Well, so far so good. This year's been pretty good for me so far. I can't complain.
Yeah, you're out there looking for it, pounding the pavement.
Pounding the pavement, man. My footprints are all over the place.
That's what you got to do. So this week we've seen a bunch of new camera things come through. I know Sony introduced a couple of new cameras. They made an announcement for an A58 as well as the NEX3N, which both look very interesting. You know, one is the APS HD and another one is the APS-C. Which is an ILC, an interchangeable lens camera. That's the NEX3N.
Yeah, I'm really liking those NEX cameras. Those are pretty cool. Those mirrorless jobbies. I mean, we've talked about them a lot on the show, and you know, I really like them. I think they're a nice. I mean, I don't know that I would use it for pro, but you know, they're nice. I mean, I would definitely consider getting one.
Yeah, it looks. I don't know. I think having interchangeable lens camera in a small form factor is going to kind of be the way we all go eventually anyways. And I think what will happen is people just won't really care what camera the pro is holding because, you know, a quote unquote professional camera that might be $20,000, you know, might be the same size as their point and shoot eventually. Sure. So, you know, I think that's a good thing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, a smaller, lighter weight form factor is always nicer. It's easier when you've got this strap around your neck, you know, and you're carrying two bodies with two lenses on it. I mean, the glass is always going to be heavy. You know, glass is glass, absolutely. You know, and you want it to be heavy because it's well made. You don't want cheap plastic glass.
Exactly,
you know?
Exactly. So yeah, then also Nikon, of course, is they're announcing the D7100. Now I tell you what, the D7000 I've recommended to a lot of people, even though I'm a Canon shooter. I really love the Nikon D7000, and now the D7100. When you look at these specs, I mean, it could possibly be a 7D killer. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, a 24.1 megapixel. It's a DX format. So it's the APS-C sensor size. So it is a crop sensor. It's not a full frame. But I mean, you know, it's really good. It's got all the usual features that you'd want, you know, ISO 100 to 6400, extended to 25/600. This shoots 6 frames per second up to 100 frames. So that's quite a bit of burst shooting.
That's pretty good. And of course, it has this 51 points autofocus. That's one thing, you know, Nikon always has, you know, the lockdown, so to speak, pardon the pun, on autofocus, you know. Yeah. Canon has just always been, you know, hunting around and always giving us minimal autofocus points. And, you know, Nikon's always got it. And once again, 51 points. You can't beat that. You know, I know I was reading in there that they removed the low pass filter to kind of improve things in the camera, which I thought was kind of interesting because I remember we did an interview back about, what was it, February or something? I guess
like
about
a year ago. Yeah.
A year ago to date with Casey Baker over at Fuji.
Right.
And she was talking about the X Pro 1 and how they removed the low pass filter, and they, and they had to do this, that, and the other thing to make that all happen, to reduce moire and all kinds of other stuff. And here, Nikon is just right behind Fuji on this, and once again, they're removing the low pass filter.
Yeah,
so
they're saying it's going to make the images sharper, more vibrant, and all that stuff. So, and I believe it's going to make it faster too. Faster to process the images and things. So, and build quality is, definitely like that semi-pro build quality. It's got magnesium alloy top and rear covers. So it's not like a cheap plastic, lightweight thing. Dual SD card slots. So they are SD, they're not CF.
It's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
I like the dual function. I
like the dual
I do
as
like
well.
that a lot.
Yep.
You can do backup at the same time, or you can use it as more space, however you want to do it. They got a larger screen on the back. It's 3.2 now, like 3.25 compared to the 3. I think
the 3 is what everybody always seems to have. Yeah,
full HD and all the rest of the stuff that you would see like on a 7D or whatnot. And the crazy thing here is the price, right?
Yeah, this sucker on B&H, they have it for pre-order, body only, for $11.96.
That is, that's going to be $300-400 less than the 7D. So
that is really interesting. That is really interesting. I mean, because a lot of people already have Nikon glass, and if you are looking for a new body, this is a really good price point for this type of build quality and these types of features. I tell you what, I mean, if I didn't have a bunch of Canon glass sitting here and I was looking for a new body, I would absolutely consider this one. This is a nice looking camera.
Yeah, I said the same thing about the D7000.
Yes.
When that came out, I loved it. I mean, it was really a decent camera for what it is and for the price. I mean, it's truly amazing. And then of course we hear rumors, down the grapevine that Canon will be introducing the 7D Mark II very soon. They have some specs kind of leaking out there that they were talking about. The dual Digix 5 and up to like 10 frames per second. Dual memory slots, not a clue if they're CF or if they're SD, but that's cool. But check this out. 61 autofocus points.
Yeah,
can you believe
finally,
that?
Right?
Are they finally figuring it out? Come on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, so that's it, right? I mean, maybe there's some inside stuff going on. Maybe Canon saw the next iteration of Nikon's camera there with the 7100. Maybe they said, all right, we need to make our next iteration of the 7D more comparable. We're probably, no doubt, that Canon was probably losing business, especially to new DSLR buyers, to Nikon, because of the autofocus systems. There's a lot of people out there talking about the autofocus systems. A lot of big name photographers who shoot Nikon and are raving at how great the autofocus system is for fast action, for sports, things like that. And, Canon's always been behind on these types of features. So now they're rolling it out, built-in GPS and Wi-Fi, which is kind of like the new thing that everybody's doing.
That's kind of nice.
Yep.
It seems like most of the new cameras are going to come out with this GPS and Wi-Fi built in. Yep. I don't think the Nikon D7000 has that.
No, in the 7100
either. So maybe
you had to use an external module.
The 7100. I don't know if I don't think it does have GPS and Wi-Fi. That might be the price consideration if someone's looking at the two cameras. Once that finally is introduced, both with the 3.2 LCDs. So that, I've always said that Canon and Nikon are kind of like two legs on one body. Yep. When one takes a step, then the next one takes a step, and then one takes a step, and the next one takes a step. And this is not a bad thing. This is good. This is how we constantly get newer, better, cheaper, good stuff for the photographers. It is a good thing. So looking at it on another side is, I know that the 7D does allow for micro focus adjustment. That is a huge, huge point.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if the D7000 allows for micro focus adjustment. I tell you what, these days people are looking at that and saying, that is a deal breaker. I want to be able to dial every single one of my lenses to the body, and when I snap on a lens, I want it immediately calibrated so it's perfect every time, because there are anomalies that happen. There are variances between lenses. when you snap them on the body. So that is a major factor. I just spoke to someone just recently. We'll leave him unnamed for right now. He might end up being on the show, but someone pretty famous. You guys will all know him eventually. If you probably know him now, but you'll know him from the show eventually. But anyways, and he was saying that he has a D600, I believe, and just after doing some research on it, found out that that does not allow for micro focus adjustment.
Right.
So the problems that he's having with focus, he can't correct.
Yep.
Or he has to correct it in the field. It can't be dialed in. So I think that's going to be a major point too. Something to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, and this 7D Mark II is rumored to have a price tag of $2199. So in comparison to the 1200 of the 7100 Nikon there, yeah, it's a lot of thinking about to do here,
Right. I don't know if that $2199 includes like a kit lens or if it doesn't, but either way, even if it doesn't, it's going to be like $1,700.
I mean,
yeah, it's still going to be up there, at least probably $300, $400, $500 more. So we'll see what happens. I guess the question is, shiny new camera, is it needed to make money? Do you really, this is the question.
Sure.
Do you really need?
You need all the latest and greatest all the time.
I don't know. So, we were looking at, we really enjoy reading Chase Jarvis's stuff. And I mean, we said this on the show in the past. And, most of you guys will probably know who he is. If you don't, you should know. You can go over to chasejarvis.com and look at all of his work. But, he was put an article up, I think it was yesterday before or something. And he was discussing, what exactly do you need to make money? And the bottom line is the latest and greatest is really not, sometimes it does help. You do need, if you need a camera to do a specific thing and the camera that you currently have doesn't do it, but the client needs that specific thing, whatever that is, then it's time to upgrade.
Right.
But until then, you don't need to upgrade. You're still going to be creating great pictures, and that's just simply it. The stuff is good enough now. You don't need to go, past that and constantly get the latest and greatest. If you need GPS because you're doing a lot of landscapes, well, then, a camera that has GPS in it would be great. If you need Wi-Fi because, whatever. So, I can see that can be an issue. But the bottom line is you really don't need the latest and greatest for the most part, right?
No, I mean, for the most part, a client is not going to ask you when they call up to talk to you about, possibly booking you, talking about your work and your pricing. They're not going to ask you, so what camera do you shoot with? Because honestly, they don't really care. It's like asking a mechanic what brand of hand tools they use. Is it Mac Tools? Is it Snap-on? Is it Craftsman? Who cares? I mean, no, it doesn't really make a difference as long as you can deliver the work. To one photographer talking to another photographer. I mean, yeah, then maybe you talk shop and you ask about your equipment and things like that. But your average consumer doesn't care. That's not something that's going to cross their mind.
I think, when digital first came out, people were caring more. The clients were, looking and asking, so what camera is being used? And
because they wanted to know if you were shooting digital or if you were shooting film.
Right. And how big are the pictures that I'm going to be getting? That was always a question way back. I mean, original D1, that was $8,000, captured 4.7 megapixels.
Right.
Okay. So I have one sitting right over there, but it's just amazing, where we've come. But back then, it was an issue, how big are the pictures? What are we going to be able to print? Can we print 8x10s or can we print like a big wall? It was a whole thing. Now I think it's less of an issue. You take, like you have, Trev, you have, what was it, a T2i? You take that, you throw on a battery grip, a big lens and maybe a bracket, and you go to an event, no one would be the wiser.
Nobody would even take notice to the little model
no one would care.
Printed up in the corner. Yeah. Nobody's even going to notice. I mean, I know back when my wife and I were getting married and we were looking for photographers, and I didn't know you yet, but that was one of my questions that I asked the photographer back then. Are you shooting film or are you shooting digital? Because digital was still new. I think she was shooting with a Canon, what'd she have? A 20D. I think is what she was shooting.
Oh, okay.
With. So, I mean, it was a good camera, an old model and old capabilities in today's terms, but, our pictures came out great. you know, but it wasn't because of the equipment. It was because of the photographer. She was a good
That I believe was a 8 megapixel, 8.2, somewhere
Something
on
like
there,
that,
megapixel, and more than sufficient. I shot that for a while. Shot the 20D, the 30D, shot the 40D, you know, the 5D Mark II, on and on and on.
Right.
But that 20D was kind of like, you know, the beginning of, you know, when it really started turning around. You were able to get a $1,200 camera, you know, with probably like a $2,000 setup and make some amazing, amazing work.
Yeah,
so yeah,
absolutely.
You know, the camera, it's just not the camera. And, you know, to kind of, to highlight that, there was an article that we saw. Oh, by the way, we need to go and put that definitely into the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put that link to Chase's article in the show notes.
Yeah, because that's a great article. I mean, we're just kind of skimming over it, but there's also a video that's involved with it. So go watch that video. Great information. It'll probably help you guys out a lot. Yeah. But like I said, to highlight, you know, the idea, you know, we were reading an article about this guy that was shooting a movie and film, you know, and he was shooting Super 8. And it was like a documentary, and his budget just depleted, and he didn't have money for film. So he went ahead and found an app on his iPhone called 8mm Vintage Camera. Yep. And he actually shot the end of that movie with that camera. But the crazy part about it is, as of today, you know, it's an Oscar nominated movie. Right. And, you know, who knows, you know, coming up on the 24th, when the, you know, the annual Academy Awards are what is it, the 85th Academy Awards, you know, who knows, maybe he's going to win.
Yeah.
And, you know, the back end of the movie was shot with an iPhone. Yeah. So,
well, you know what, last week when we were talking about the behind the scenes stuff of our show, and we were talking about, you know, content and quality, you know, if the documentary is a great story and the quality is acceptable for that documentary style, it doesn't matter what you shoot it on, you know, and it's just like with your photography work, you know, it really doesn't matter what camera equipment you're using as long as you're creating great images. You know, Absolutely. If your images are mediocre, that's your fault. You know, you need to bone up on your skills a little bit more, you know, but it doesn't mean go out and buy the latest, greatest camera. You know, it won't help. It's not going to help. It's not going to help. So,
yeah, sometimes it even makes it worse. You know, you hand someone that doesn't know what they're doing a DSLR, and they're just completely lost, and they'll end up with worse pictures than with their point and shoot or their iPhone. So, you know, I'm a gamer by heart. You know, I love gaming. I've gamed, you know, I have an Atari 2600, just, you know, from way back. Right. I just love gaming. And, you know, to kind of talk about that, just a quick note, you know, everyone wants the latest and greatest, you know, Halo and, you know, all the Diablo 3 and all of these like eye candy games. Right. Well, you know, once was an indie game that is now a, you know, multi-million, who knows how many 100 million they've made on it, a game called Minecraft. And I know we've played with it a couple of times, you and I. And that game is basically almost like 8-bit. Yeah. You know, it is a first person, but the stuff is like block.
It's all blocky. The graphics are, you know, not what you would expect. I mean, they're very, very basic, but it's just a lot of fun. It's a role-playing game. Right. You know, and it's just a lot of fun getting in there and playing and not having.
So, you know, you kind of liken it, you know, to the games where, you know, you can get an 8-bit, you know, game that is just so much fun that you play for hours and hours, or you can get this eye candy game that they spent millions of dollars on, you know, voiceover actors and all kinds of other stuff, and it's just horrible. Yep. The gameplay just sucks, you know? So it's the same kind of thing with the cameras. You can make wonderful pictures with cheap cameras. That's right. You don't need the latest and greatest, so. But anyways, before we get into the meat, potatoes, gravy, and maybe a side of corn, let's go ahead and take a quick break and hear from a few of our sponsors.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer, and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener. From phones, tablets, laptops, and PCs, these days photographers use multiple internet-connected devices.
Have you ever wished you could view your Lightroom images, folders, collections, and metadata from any of these devices? Now you can.
Mosaic Storage Systems has created Mosaic View, an application that gives you access to your images without exporting or using a publishing service.
Mosaic also offers Mosaic Archive, which directly integrates with Lightroom as a powerful cloud backup solution.
Mosaic gives photographers access to all of their images from anywhere on virtually any device.
Try Mosaic View today for free and access 2,000 of your most recent images.
As a Digital Photography Cafe viewer, Mosaic is offering a 20% discount off any of their premium plans.
Go to mosaicarchive.com and use coupon code DPC at checkout.
Mosaic. Lightroom, anywhere, any device, secure, backed up. As photographers, we're always trying to increase sales and profits after every event.
We shoot an event and have hundreds or even thousands of images that just sit on our hard drives.
Perhaps a better workflow would increase sales by getting those valuable images in front of the client.
That's where ShootProof comes in. At shootproof.com, you can have an online gallery for all of your clients' proofing needs.
ShootProof helps increase profits while building your brand and securing your photos without charging commission fees on sales.
ShootProof galleries display your photos beautifully while helping to streamline your workflow and automate more of your business through their intuitive studio control panel.
Once approved, photos can be directly fulfilled through ShootProof's various professional lab partners or fulfilled by you.
All ShootProof plans have the same feature set. You simply choose the number of client photos stored, decide what products to sell, and the price.
Try ShootProof today by taking advantage of their free 30-day trial offer.
As a Digital Photography Cafe viewer, ShootProof is offering a 20% discount off any of their premium plans by using promo code DPC20 at checkout.
ShootProof. Upload, share, sell, print.
So, all right, guys, we are back. So I hope you guys have your slippers on and you're kind of on your couch in a comfortable position, because we're going to kind of get into something that is, kind of call it, what is your comfort zone? Your comfort zone, and kind of get into that a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. I kind of joked in the beginning, I've been really out pounding the street a lot, lately.
Right.
To generate new business, and it's been working. It's been working very well. Getting a lot of new projects coming in and a lot of quotes that I'm working up. But in order to do this, you really have to start becoming comfortable talking to strangers. And this is something that's not easy for everyone. I mean, it certainly wasn't for me. I mean, back when I was younger, I was definitely a lot more reserved, and, I never would have gone out of my way to talk to people and stuff like that. If they came up and talked to me, that's fine. I talk back. But you know what? You need to do it. Networking is critical to developing your business.
And that's not necessarily networking behind the computer. That's actually getting out there, and losing some tread on the bottom of the soles of your shoes and talking with people, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's so easy for us to become complacent in our businesses. We've got some work coming in and we're just, doing our job. We're sitting in front of the computers. We're doing our shoots, whatever it is we're doing. And we're not really out there knocking on the doors. And then when that work is done, what do we have waiting for us?
Right.
Or do we have any new projects or whatever? That's why it's so important to constantly be on the lookout for the next opportunity. So,
exactly.
I kind of, to go along with this, I kind of have a funny story about this. So it was a couple days before Valentine's, and I'm in the drugstore buying some cards for the wife, from me and from the kids. Got to get the mommy, get the mommy cards. That's
absolutely
that's the daddy's job.
You don't want to be in the doghouse.
That's right. So anyway, I'm sitting in the card aisle and I hear this guy like on the other aisle, and he's talking to a woman who works in the store. And he's saying, yeah, I got this business. I'm a contractor for like 35 years. And, I really need to start marketing my business. He's like, work is dropping off and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, let me ask you, when you go to look for a contractor, what do you do? Do you just Google it? And,
right.
And she's like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess I go to the internet and she's like, well, have you thought about Angie's List and all this stuff? And she's like, well, do you have a website? And he's like, no, he's like, I'm working on that. I got to get that done. And so meanwhile, my ears are perking up, right? It's like, this is right up my alley. So he goes and he checks out and does his stuff. And meanwhile, I'm like, listen to this. And I'm thinking, what the hell? So the guy goes out the door and I chased him out of the store,
Nice. Just like any good salesperson would.
So I said to the guy, I said, I'm sorry. I couldn't help but overhearing, your conversation. I said, I introduced myself. I told him the company I was from. I had a card in my hand. I had already pre-pulled that out of the wallet, And I said, this is what I do for a living. I help market and gain exposure for local businesses as well as national businesses. And I heard you say that you're looking for a website, that is something that we do along with, the digital marketing, blah, blah, blah. I gave him like a 3-minute elevator pitch about what I do.
Exactly.
And, will this guy ever call me? I mean, he's very appreciative, and he took my card and he's like, oh, great. I'll give you a call. And I mean, I haven't heard from him yet. Will I ever hear from him? Who knows? But you know what? If I didn't do that, if I didn't go up to this man and introduce myself and try to talk to him, I probably would have been kicking myself later for it and saying,
yes.
I missed an opportunity there,
Oh, no, absolutely. Something similar happened to me a couple of years back where, I met with one person, they introduced me to another person and kind of ended up in basically this gallery and looking through all the work. And, I just kind of approached the curator and I said, who do you show? Who is there some requirement or is there, is I am a photographer and I also do fine art photography.
Right.
Is that whatever? So he's like, oh, that's interesting. We've only had artwork in here. But maybe we can do some photography. So my ears perk up. I'm like, oh, absolutely. Sure. So I do fine art and I tell him, I do black and whites. I do chemical prints. I don't do like an Epson or something and just like kind of print it out with that. I actually do liquid printing.
Right.
It's actual chemical print,
yep.
Big monster prints. And he's like, that sounds really great. So after, everything was said and done, I ended up with my very first gallery showing at a gallery that was a stone's throw away from the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, basically where I went to school for digital photography, for fine art, for commercial art that, way back in, was it the beginning of the 90s?
Right.
So, and here I am now, within, probably it was less than a month, I have 10, 12 of my fine art pieces being shown at this gallery right down the road from where I went to school. It's almost like full circle. Just absolutely an honor, an amazing honor.
That's great.
But, the idea of coming out of, your comfort zone, it wasn't easy for me to go there, twice a week, sometimes and do meet and greets and signings. And, people are paying good money for my work. And to go and actually sit and explain a piece and discuss a piece, these are intimate, thoughts and ideas. And to actually sit there and, share it with, sometimes there was, 50, sometimes 100 people at the gallery.
Sure.
And to share with these people, it was definitely out of my realm. Quote unquote comfort zone.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's not the type of thing that most average people will do. They don't find themselves up in front of large groups of people talking about their work or talking about themselves, their creativity or what have you. I mean, unless you're a school teacher or, you work at a university or you're an executive, you're in a boardroom in front of a bunch of people, you're up giving a presentation. But that is not something that most people do on a regular basis.
No, absolutely not. And, and back to the idea, you can't stay in your home or your studio and make stuff like this happen. It just doesn't. You have to meet people continuously, shake hands, discuss, almost like a politician. You need to be out there shaking hands and
kissing babies.
And just, yeah, exactly. And talking, and you need to know your, 30-second elevator pitch. You need to know who you are, what you do. And it needs to be compelling so that people are interested in listening to more. And not just saying, oh, okay, that's cool, and that's it. No, it needs to be, oh, can I go and see more, or ask you questions?
Right.
Because as soon as you get that interaction, you've won. It's already done. So
because then it just turns into a normal conversation. And,
exactly.
And that's it, guys. As uncomfortable as this may be for you, it's something you just have to do. You have to get over the fear. You have to get over whatever is holding you back, and you just have to do it. There are so many opportunities out there that you may miss if you don't do it. And when you get out there and you do take advantage of one of these opportunities, all of a sudden another opportunity opens, and that actually just happened to me this week. I was at one of these business networking events, and this woman came in, sat down next to me. She came in a little bit late, so we kind of just said hi. We didn't really introduce each other. And at the end of the event, she introduced herself, and she was like the executive director at our local college. And she had said, who are you? What do you do? And blah blah blah. And I started going down, the elevator pitch of who I am.
Sure.
And the next thing you know, she's offering me the opportunity of a speaking gig.
There you go. And
I was like, wow, okay, didn't come here expecting this, but this is really cool, and and that's been happening more and more, because as you get out there and as you start talking to people and as they get to know what you're all about, what your skills are, they want to learn from you. And many of these people are parts of groups that they would love to have you come in and talk.
Absolutely. To bring, see, and that's the thing, these opportunities do not happen, like we said, unless you're out there. Something similar happened to me. I was at Donald Trump's place at Mar-a-Lago. This was, I don't know, it got to be a year or two ago now. And I was there for an event. It was Adriano Bocelli, the singer, the Italian singer. Mm-hmm. You probably know him as the blind singer. He's like an opera singer. He's just absolutely amazing.
Right.
We were there for that, and just happened to start talking to one of the people there, and come to find out he ends up being like a director or someone in a local university. Enjoyed the conversation, told him, what I did, the whole 9 yards. Obviously, you can see I'm there doing, what I'm doing, coverage or whatnot.
Sure.
And he asked, let me, do you have a website? Can I see your work? Whatever. Within a day, he calls me back. He said, I love your work. I loved our conversation. Is there any way that you could speak at the university, to our up and coming, fashion design, and creatives that are there.
Sure.
So, here all of a sudden, now I'm going to be speaking to students, about basically my life, what I do, and hopefully pass on some of my knowledge of what to do and not to do, and hopefully inspire them, just by having this little chat, so,
yeah.
But, to go and do a PowerPoint, some type of presentation for hundreds of students, is not, it's kind of, it's a little bit hard,
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. It's not an easy thing to do, but, speaking gigs really are fantastic. And that, unless you did public speaking in school, again, not the type of thing that you would normally do in your everyday life. And I know I never did. I mean, God, when I was in school, I would be so nervous getting up in front of the class and having to do those oral book reports. And, it just was not fun at all. But, there's so much that can come out of these speaking gigs. If you can get in there and someplace and talk about your photography, yes, you may be talking to a class of photo enthusiasts, but those photo enthusiasts, some may be getting married. Some may need portraits done. you know, they can't shoot themselves unless they're using a mirror or a tethered device or something like that, a timer.
Right.
You know, I mean, so they still, even photographers have the need for photographers. So even getting out there, I mean, it opens to the opportunity of maybe doing workshops and teaching photography. You know, you can make some money there. You know, as you teach, the more you teach, the more you talk, the more you learn. You know, I've definitely found that, you know, you may think you know a lot, but until you actually have to start teaching somebody, you know, you realize that, wow, okay, I really need to brush up on these details so I can convey this to the class. So definitely speaking opportunities are a great thing to do. But, you know, whether you're getting paid for the opportunity, whether it's a freebie, whether you're donating your time, you have to look at whether that's really something you want to do, donate your time or what have you. I would say if you have the opportunity, you don't have anything else pressing, and you get the opportunity to talk, I would do it.
Just do it.
Just do it, because, you know, you only get out of these opportunities what you put into them. And
absolutely. I mean, I tell you what, the show, you know, talking about teaching, you know, doing the show, what is it, 93 shows now, doing all the show notes. You know, last week we showed some behind the scenes of what we do, what goes into it, showed kind of our setup. If you haven't listened to or watched show 92, go ahead and do so. We've been people have requested this for a long time. We're like, you know, we don't want to do that, but we decided to do it. Right. So definitely go take a look at show 92. It's pretty cool. You get to, you know, we kind of go down the equipment that we use and all the stuff, but you know, not to get kind of down a rabbit's hole, but the bottom line is to do the show, you know, I have learned a ton about my craft, my trade, more than I knew in the past and even before, you know, and teaching it. So like you said, teaching is learning, learning is teaching. You learn from your students all the time. So it is very important. You know, let me also say one thing. This happens all the time. You're talking about events and going to events and meeting and greeting. So many times people go to these events and what do? The event's over. The guy's like, thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the hors d'oeuvres and the drinks or whatever. We'll see you next month or whatever. Right. And what does everyone do? They pack up all of their stuff and they bolt out the door like if they have, you know, there's a fire at the house.
Right.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Do not do that. The biggest deals and the biggest connections happen when the lights go down, the band's packing up, and everyone is kind of mingling out the door. The people that are left around, those are like prime targets, you know, for a good conversation. Number one, you don't have to go and converse with them just blindly. Now all of a sudden you have something in common. What you have in common is what just transpired at the event,
absolutely,
at the show, at whatever just went on. So stay a little bit, stick around for an extra 5-10 minutes. You'll be surprised the amount of connections that you make.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget to, if it's appropriate, hand them your business card. Say, hey, let's connect online, you know, on social, you know, on our social networks, on Twitter, on Facebook, or what have you. You know, I mean, again, even if it's another photographer, there's nothing wrong with connecting with photographers. I mean, that's what we're doing with you guys. You guys are all photographers. You want to learn about the craft. You want to learn about the business of photography. We're trying to connect with you to convey this information. You know, it's a good sharing environment. It's a two-way street. And asking them some questions in a conversation, you're helping to secure that relationship. You're helping to show that you are human, that you really do care. And
right.
I mean, they're already sold on you, right? Because you've just been there and you gave a talk. Anybody that's still hanging around that wants to talk to you, they're sold on you. I mean, it's an easy sell. It's an easy conversation at that point. So definitely.
Absolutely. And even if you weren't talking and you were just there for the event, just stick around, have that conversation. And once again, you actually have an icebreaker there. You have something to discuss, and the discussion is basically what you just saw. So yeah, I hopefully, you know, people have got a couple of little tidbits out of this kind of, you know, talk, but we really need to get out of here.
Yeah.
We're starting to run late. This always happens.
Yeah, we try to keep the shows a little shorter and we run long. So yeah, it's
just
time.
Can't do it.
So Joe, after this, our listeners are going to want to connect with you. Where's the best place?
We hope so. So the best place, of course, would be Twitter, and that's at Joseph Christina, and that's Christina without an H.
Great, and you can always connect with me on Twitter. It's at Trevor Curran.
Awesome. All right, Trevor, we are out of here. You can get all of the show notes from this episode by visiting digitalphotographycafe.com/93. And don't forget, if you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star review in iTunes by visiting digitalphotographycafe.com/iTunes. So keep your questions and comments coming, and we'll see you next week.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe show with Trevor Curran and Joseph Christina. Be sure to subscribe to the show for free in iTunes or through RSS. You can also listen on Stitcher and TuneIn Radio and watch in HD on TiVo. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect with your hosts.